Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Small Stages, Big Sounds, the Uberrock podcast. I'm joined today by Justin, aka DJ Astro Creep, and we're going to have a chat about some of the upcoming festivals. So, hey, Justin, how are you doing today?
Yeah, not too bad. How about yourself, David?
Yeah, I'm good. So, what festivals are we going to have a chat about then?
So I think today we'll start probably with Download Festival, go on to Radar Festival, and then the dual delights of Rebellion and Bloodstock, which are both on the same weekend at the start of August.
Okay, that seems like a plan. You know more about those ones than me. I've not looked at Download. I've looked at some of the acts on Download, but the other ones are ones that I've never covered before. So if you're looking to carry on and cover those, then I'll leave you take the lead.
Okay, so we'll start with Download first, as probably the biggest rock metal festival in the UK. So what I've done, I've looked at. I mean, everyone knows the likes of Sleep Token and bands like that at this point. They're world renowned. So I figured I was going to look at some of the kind of lower card and second stages and tents and stuff. So the first band I picked out, so I'll go through Friday first, and I actually picked out 3 bands from the Opus stage on the Friday. They were Starset, I thought they were up and coming, to be honest, but I've noticed they've got about 3.5 million monthly Spotify listeners earlier. That seems to have gone from nowhere fairly quickly. More kind of modern metalcore in their approach, a little bit kind of progressive in their approach at times. Really, really good, upbeat, frenetic riffs, stuff like that. There's also Northlane, who are progressive metalcore. So they're a bit more progressive still than I would say than Starset. Certainly in the songs I'm aware of and I've listened through and such. We've got a Dirty Honey as well, who were on the same stage. Who are, I think you know about them yourself, Dave.
Yeah.
They kind of blues, classic rock, that kind of vibe.
They're really good live too.
So moving to the Saturday now, and I've got 2 different stages. So I've got the first 2 bands on the main stage. So the first ones are Loathe, band from the same city as me, from Liverpool. They have come through behind the likes of Knocked Loose on that kind of metalcore, hardcore kind of crossover line with, sometimes there's a lot of melody in there. Sometimes it's just heavy breakdown riffs, all that kind of stuff. Seems to be going from strength to strength in the last few years, which is good to see as well. We've also got Static Dress, who are very, very similar in the terms of the music that they're making. I think they're more kind of Manchester, Leeds based, not quite as big as Low, but they did seem to explode a couple of years ago as well. 2 openers for the main stage. It's a good step up for them from second, third stages and such. It'd be good to see how they kind of move on the big stage, and obviously that the amount of people there, the amount of space that they've got on the stage itself, and how they use it. Right. There's 2 other acts from the Opus stage on the Saturday as well that I picked out. The first one of them is Currents. Again, progressive metalcore band. Very similar, I would say, to Northlane. There's melody in there at times when they kind of want to slow it down, stuff like that. But then they've got all the riffs that, anyone into the more kind of heavy, modern heavy side is going to want as well. There's also an artist called Kim Dracula, who Australian-based artist. They blend different genres together. So there's bits of rock in there, alternative, even stuff like trap, hip-hop, alongside the jazz maybe as well, alongside the kind of rock and metal aspects of it, which is, it's quite refreshing to see someone actually properly mix a lot more in without it just sounding pretty awful, to be honest. There's I've definitely seen some people try and not do so well with those. From their main stage on Sunday, I've got 1 band. I think they're the opening band on the Sunday. They're called Orbit Culture. They've just been supporting Trivium and Bullet for Valentine on their co-headline tour. That was the first time I'd seen them live, though I was already aware of their music and really, really enjoyed the set, and actually inspired me to listen to them more. Really enjoying, the stuff that I've heard from them. So them opening up the main stage is a big step up for them as well. And hopefully it's one that they, a chance that they take and kind of go on from there. There's also the last band I've picked from Download is on the Dogtooth stage on Sunday, and that is Vows with two W's. Alt rock duo from LA. They're both multi instrumentalists, I believe. Play a lot of different things between them, and I just love the way that they kind of mix it all in as well. Similar to what I was saying about Kim Dracula, albeit they bring a lot more different influences into the music. It's the ability that they show with like different instruments and stuff is just, and I love that kind of thing anyway. So it's kind of intrigues me seeing what they can do on different bits.
Okay. While you're talking about Download, I was made aware that a band that I interviewed a few months back, young band called Matted, they are playing on, I think it's the Friday night in the Village. They're actually quite good. They're quite rocky, quite upbeat. They basically, two of the band were in School of Rock from the age of 10 or 11 on the stage. So they're pretty talented and they got a lot of personality about them. So I hope they get a bit of an audience because they were quite nice to talk to and they got some good music out as well.
Okay. Right. The next next festival I was going to talk about was going to be Radar, because I'm just kind of going through in chronological order here. So, beginning of July in Manchester. The headliners are Carpenter Brut, French. I mean, I guess probably the first song that drew Carpenter Brut to my attention was the cover of Maniac, the 80s pop song. And then I kind of listened to some more and really, really enjoyed it. There's a lot more kind of progressive in nature and in a lot of the, I guess, synthwave kind of stuff. It's really, really nice. And they've got Bob Vylan headlining on the Saturday, who I've wanted to see live for a couple of years now since I properly had to listen to his music and just kind of, I mean, I'd almost call it kind of street punk, maybe. He's just from down south and black guy who's obviously not had an easy upbringing but has gone about it the right way to kind of speak about that injustice, and so just combines rap with punk, with hence using the street punk term. And just, for me, it's that whole punk ethos spirit, the way that he's putting himself across, but with, making genuinely good music at the same time. So for me, that's just kind of the epitome of what punk, old school punk was. Is that anger, fueling that anger, that want for change, stuff like that. So yeah, it's just really, really good. And then Sunday, it's Under Oath for the headliner.
So is Radar a varied festival or has it got a particular genre that it
And
works
so
with?
it's generally more kind of progressive in its outlook. Not everyone will be, but it's either stuff like that or adjacent genres.
Okay.
Typically. So again, I'm going to pick a few bands out that are to kind of what I would say to kind of keep an eye out for. I mean, people are going to know the likes of Normandy, Zealanardo, Vakovi that are further up the bills. So I'm going to pick out first. I'll go for the Friday. There's someone called Lake Malice. I saw them supporting. Who was it? They supported someone last year. I can't remember offhand, but I knew nothing about them. But I was their headline act. So as usual, I cover every band that's on the bill. I was actually really, really impressed by them. So I checked out their stuff since seeing them live and now listen fairly regularly to them. To the female vocals, metalcore. I realised that I've picked a lot of metalcore bands out from Download
Yeah, it
and
looks
a couple
like
from
it.
here as well. But metalcore's not really my kind of thing.
Okay.
So it's I've just realised I'm surprised myself slightly with some of the stuff I'm picking out. But it's I think it's an indication of where the scene is at the minute in the UK. Like that kind of hardcore metalcore crossover's been huge for the last few years. So maybe the fact that they're kind of mixing in bits with other genres a bit is what's drawn the likes of myself and obviously a lot of other people in towards the genres and keep fueling that fire. The other band is the opener on the Friday as well, Mother Vulture, and they're a band from.
They're phenomenal.
I was just going to say, so I've not seen them, but I'm very aware of what they're like. So they're another kind of punky blues band from Bristol, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. They put on a hell of a show at Steelhouse a couple of years ago. But anybody was there, they said they were phenomenal. Absolutely well worth catching up with.
Okay, right.
So there you are. That's my two penneth.
I'll move over to the Saturday now. So again, novelists are pretty well known these days. I'm going to go first with Pint Glass. So they are Geezer Core, I believe. So they play on stage wearing high-vis vests and I believe not that much else.
Dear.
They are clothed below the waist and stuff, tend to be topless with the high-vis vests. I know that they get very heavy on the kind of hardcore metalcore side of it, but they seem to be picking up a lot of like very good tour supports and a lot of very good reviews from people as well. And it's just the whole kind of geezer core and the songs it all kind of like works well, not all, but like a lot of work site related. The titles are certainly about that. So I think it's a lot more niche maybe than some of the other bands, but
Could be entertaining.
I know a few people that have seen them, in Manchester and stuff like that, and they've all raved about them afterwards. So they certainly sound like they should be someone to, check out live. And the one I'm going to pick out from the Saturday is Air Drawn Dagger, who weirdly I actually met at a music conference many years ago, must be around 10 years ago. So it was basically, I was invited to go over it was over in Sheffield with a couple of other people that I know from, close to that way, to basically discuss like the music industry in general, where we thought it was going and stuff like that. And so they had the panelists of, I think Toby Jepson was one of the panelists, and other people similar, people that worked in PR and things like that. It was quite interesting, but they had some bands there as well that were just there to basically try and network, integrate with people, stuff like that. And I remember them passing me one of the CDs. I've still got it in amongst my CDs, I think. But yeah, they had to listen, and they were kind of softer end of punk, not quite pop punk, as we may look at like to Blink 182 and bands like that. Maybe a more mature pop punk than that.
Sort of a bit like the Stranglery type stuff.
No, not quite there. So it's, I would say, similar subjects, but a bit more kind of grown up rather than the kind of whiny teenage look at it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Okay, I'll look at the Sunday now. A Dream State are a band I've heard a lot of good things about from a few people. I think including Jace, our live editor. I'm pretty sure has gone on about Dream State a few times. In fact, a couple before them, Tiberius, are a band that I actually know because of Jace as well. Yeah, the Sunday seems to be a bit more, not quite as much my kind of thing from the bands I can see on there that I know, because although I've heard of most, I don't know all of them. The first band on were called Waterlines, who I believe used to be called Sertraline, who were a Manchester and Leeds-based band. They had a few different gigs that I went to, really, really enjoyed, and then the old vocalist left, and then they changed name. And I'm not sure what the reason behind that was, but I remember really, really enjoying the band in general. And then, the singer left, and I've seen them I think once or twice since, and they were still really good. It's definitely worth checking out.
Trademark issue if they were called sertraline.
Possibly, yeah. Just not entirely sure why, but yeah, quite possibly. Right, I've gone on about Radar for a little bit there now, so should we go on to Rebellion?
Yeah, you just as well.
Yep, so world famous punk festival, and there's more than a few bands. It's such a huge festival, just covering almost the entirety of Blackpool, indoor, outdoor, and the rest. So I'll be a bit quicker kind of going through these because there's a fair few bands to pick up on.
Take as long as you like. It's our podcast.
The first band I'm going to pick out is a band that I actually know. I've put them on as a promoter myself. I've covered every album they've released. They send me a vinyl copy of every album now because they apparently enjoy what I've written about them before.
Fair enough.
So they're called Evil Blizzard. And I believe the way I've always described them is they dress like Led Zeppelin, they look like Slipknot, and they sound like the Sex Pistols wrote Hawkwind's music.
That's a combination.
It's a hell of a combination. So they wear quite lifelike masks, but it's still a mask. So it sets you ill at ease. When I first saw them, my friend who organised the ticket for me said, make sure you catch the first band. And the first thing they did, they brought out a theremin that was in a baby's doll head.
That's bizarre.
So they started off as a drummer with 4 bassists. They now have occasional other members that join in. They've including the likes of like a former Hawkwood member joins in, and I do recall one time seeing them on stage. They ended up with 14 members because they brought on members of every other band that had played with them on that day, gave them the masks, and they just all plugged in. And I'm just glad I wasn't doing sound that day. That's all I'm gonna say, because that would have been
a nightmare.
Yeah, they're absolutely phenomenal. They've seen them live probably 10 times or more. And now I'm not going to give away too much of their kind of background because I've seen them, obviously spoken with them without the masks, but from Preston, so local-ish to me. And they've toured with Public Image, they've toured with the Chameleons, so they've toured with a lot of the kind of older established bands in quite good support slots. It's good seeing them. Like, I know they've played Rebellion before. It's good seeing them actually kind of stepping up onto the main stage now. And about a third of the way up the bill as well on the main stage, which is, again, really good to see. Let me look through. I'll go through the main stage first because there's 4 days to go through and then there's so many stages underneath that it's... So on the Friday, there's a band called The Meths who I believe are... Is it Download they're on or... might be Outbreak that they're on as well. There's one of the other festivals I was looking at about talk. So it must be Download. They older kind of old school punk rock kind of music, stuff like that. There's the Popes of Chilitown. They're a band that I've heard good things about, but I've not had the chance to listen to. So just through the word of mouth kind of thing, they were one of the ones I wanted to check out. There's a band on the Saturday called The Chisel. I have been fortunate enough to see these live. They supported the chats in Manchester Academy 1 when I saw them. Remember the PR getting in touch separately, specifically saying, if please, go and have a listen to these. I think you'll like them. The PR was not wrong. They kind of, when I say hardcore, the hardcore punk, like the old style of hardcore punk, all from London or Essex, somewhere around that kind of area. For me, down south. So it's, yeah. So, but yeah, really, really good, really good live, lots of energy. I mean, the likes of Public Image, Limited, The Damned, and all that are playing. They're bands that everyone knows. I don't need to go into them.
No.
Let's see, Barstool Preachers are actually third from top on the Sunday, and they're a band I know we've featured before. So it's good seeing them step up, like a band that we as a site have heavily supported before as well. I'm just going down a stage. Let me have a quick look. So this is the Club Casbah stage. So moving on to the Saturday, there's a band called Your Mum, without the in your, that I know I've seen them support one because the name is obviously a little bit juvenile, but it does stick in your head. I really, really enjoyed the set. I can't remember who they were with. There's also Wonk Unit on the same day, a little bit further up.
Yeah, Wonk Unit have played innumerable times.
Yeah.
In one of my favourite little venues called the Dragonfly. So they're regulars there.
It's them you know about already.
Yeah.
And there's Ferocious Dog as well that are actually third from top of the bill just before the Selector, which is quite good as well. So again, that kind of all energy punk rock. Let's see, anyone I've found. Millie Manders and the Shut Up are main headline, main support on the Sunday on this Club Casbah stage as well. Another band that I think it was you that covered them.
Who's that?
Millie Manders and the Shut Up.
Not me.
Okay.
Must have been Jace.
Yeah.
Or Josh.
Definitely. It may have actually been Mark, maybe when they've gone over to Ireland. But I remember, I'm sure we did an interview with them as well at some point. Again, they're a band that I've had recommended to me by a couple of people. So people that I trust the judgment of, I should say that. So this band, the name is going to make you laugh because, it's quite puerile. It's Spunk Volcano and the Eruptions.
Now, they've been around as well. I've not seen them, but I've seen the name. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, similar to yourself, a name like that, I just think I've got to be very tongue-in-cheek, like really humorous and good fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes a name can kind of drag you into going to see someone else. But I guess it's like Max Splooge from the 80s and stuff, so like 70s, 80s, did a lot of big stuff, so maybe along the same lines as him. Moving down to the Opera House stage, and the band on the Thursday, Peter Bentham and the Dinner Ladies. I've seen these actually a few times. They're Liverpool, well, Liverpool-ish, environment of Liverpool, based band. I've seen them quite a few times, but going back probably 10 years. They've been around the local scene for a long while, but it's good to see. I know that, again, they've played Rebellion before multiple times. It's good seeing them actually, third from top. Just, a couple of bands before Ruts DC on that day. And yes, as the name would suggest, there is Pete Bentham, who does vocals and guitar, and then he's got the Dinner Ladies on bass, and sometimes guest musicians come in and stuff like that as well, drums and other bits. They've always been really good fun live, quite tongue-in-cheek humour, really good live, and I mean, I can't see them, not having kicked on even further from last time I saw them. The fact that this high up now says that they've clearly been doing well. Let's see. In fact, the Ruts are doing a acoustic show on the Saturday on the same stage. Okay, on the Saturday, Gypsy Pistoleros, who are a band I think we've covered before, and they're first on, and a little bit later they've got Barstool Preachers doing an acoustic set on there. So that should be actually quite a good day. In fact, further up, you've got Skeletal Family, like the old goth band, and Girls' School on after them.
Girls' School?
Girls' School, yeah. And that's why I did this double take when I was looking. I was like, okay. See, I'll go down to the next stage, which is the arena stage. Let's have a quick look through. There's so many bands on different stages here that it must pretty
become difficult to cover it.
I mean, unless you've got people for every stage, yeah. And then there's always going to be one of you people that want to go to other stages for different bits. There's names I've definitely heard, but there's no one I know well enough for anything to kind of recommend myself. Let's see. Okay, so this is the Reason Pavilion. The Sally Pepper 2.0. I know the original Sally Pepper were based on a smaller kind of independent label based in Stockport. I'm not sure what the 2.0 is about, so clearly there's been some kind of split in the band there.
Personnel changes.
Yeah, but the music that I know by them, I really enjoy. Again, probably, unless something has gone quite wrong there, definitely worth checking out. Let's see, is anyone else? Yeah, I don't know any of the other names offhand on that stage. It's almost acoustic stage, so mainly acoustic acts. Millie Manders and the Shut Up are on there again. Pete Bentham and the Dinner Ladies are on there again. And then they've also got a literary stage, so everyone on there from the likes of Attila the Stockbroker, through Pauline Black from the Selector, Chumbawamba.
Lord.
Yeah, there's quite a different Neville Staples on there as well. Gary Bushell. Girls' School are on there as well.
Excuse me.
Ed to the Pole, HR from Bad Brains, who's on one of the other stages as well. So it just goes to show that they've obviously got so much on there. And there's still one or two other little bits with, pubs in surrounding areas and stuff as well. But that's a lot of bands that have probably gone on enough about Rebellion there.
It's a big old festival by the look of it.
It takes over a lot of Blackpool. I know that even the accommodation around there gets fully booked out before bands are even announced, pretty much. Okay, so on to Bloodstock then. So headliners Trivium, Machine Head, Gojira should all be quite well known, certainly in Uberrock circles. Other bands such as Mastodon, Fear Factory, Ministry, Emperor. I'm going to go more though again onto some of the lesser known bands, maybe.
Okay.
So I'm going to start off with Saturday on the Ronnie James Dio stage with Harriet. These are the band that over the last couple of years seem to be playing pretty much every single tour that comes through the UK on, amongst their own and kind of adjacent genres. I've seen them on so many bills supporting that it always became a running joke. With someone I know, literally saw them 12 times in a year. I've been once a month. And not all of them were, in different months even. that's how often they were touring. So like they've obviously got a very good work ethic, pushing on. Good seeing them.
They're obviously working very hard.
Yeah, just noticed as well, though these are slightly bigger, a band called Kublai Khan, who have got into fairly recently. They're again heavy on the kind of metalcore, hardcore crossover from Texas, I believe. It's Kublai Khan TX. But they're, again, from what I've heard, very, very good live. I've seen a lot of live videos from friends that have gone to see them live, and that really made me wish I was there.
What? So you got a bit to keep you busy then?
Yep. Who else is on? Cage Fighter on opening the main stage, so the Ronnie James Dio stage on the Saturday as well. Another band I've heard a lot of really good things about and haven't quite caught live yet. If I go down to the Sophie Lancaster stage, let's see. The problem with some of the metal bands is you can't always read the names on when it comes to...
That one looks like a
Yes.
cactus font.
Yeah. I mean, Cataclysm are well known, the long-standing kind of thrash death metal band. Static X, I didn't realise were actually on this. I've obviously missed their name going up on there. And Breed 77 before them as well. It's
So I'm
quite
going to
good.
pop along to the. I know Mark did the Belfast final, and I'm trying to organise popping along to the South Wales final.
Okay.
So we'll see what comes of that. That's at the end of June, I think.
On the Sunday, the second band on the main stage are Barbarian Hermit. I don't know if they're still on APF Records, but they definitely were, because I saw them at least a couple of the APF all-dayers. So APF is a Manchester-based, mainly kind of doom stoner orientated, but then there's little bits of elements of similar stuff, so like occasional black metal stuff, adjacent genres, but a heavy emphasis, on doom stoner, which is, when it comes to the heavier end, that is my preferred, even though I do listen across the board. In fact, I've just seen Baal are on the Saturday as well on that stage. So, again, another band worth checking out. New Blood stage. So a lot of the New Blood stage are not going to be up there yet, because that's going to be middle of the masses stuff. There's not too much on there at this point.
I think the ones would be sort of the Northern Ireland one has gone through, but there are a few others still running.
Yeah, I don't know if they've been put up on there yet or not. But one thing that I've always had a lot of time for with Bloodstock is they seem to be one of the festivals in the UK that's willing to give those smaller and newer bands a chance to actually go and play at a bigger festival. So seeing them being the festival coming on, I know there's been some controversy with in the couple of years with stuff that's been said, which is slightly worrying. But at the same time, the lineups that they put together have always been very, very good, which is why the festivals always continue to go on, strength to strength. And I must admit, there's less bands that I know, but on that, but there's also some clear gaps where there's obviously bands still to be announced.
Yeah.
So maybe keep an eye out for further announcements for those as well. Like I said, I completely missed the one with Breed 77 and Static X being announced for the Sophie Lancaster stage. And there's a band under them that I can't actually make out the name. So Undeath, I believe it is.
There we are.
I've just realised I can hover over it and it gives me the little link that tells me there. I've got a cheat way of doing it.
Perhaps I'll start using that one now, because I've never noticed it before.
Yeah, I think it's because they all kind of link to the
band page.
To a little thing about the band. It just says when they're playing and what stage. Then it does have a little bit of a bio and stuff like that. That's actually quite nice.
There we are. They obviously look into those of us who are difficult to read these things.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think they understand that there's not going to be too many people that can make out exactly what's being said with some of them.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, it should be a good year for festivals with with so many bands on so many big festivals as well.
Yeah.
That's before.
Well, like I said, I mean, I've done a feature on Steelhouse because it's the only one I go to these days for a couple of reasons. One, because it's only 20 minutes away from home, and two, because I like the music that's on up there. But, I did do download about 2 or 3 years ago, and it was the first time I'd actually camped on the site, and I was walking around with all my gear all day, the Friday, trying to find out where to put the tent, despite being on the guest list. And I walked somewhere in the region of about 64,000 steps in a day and a half.
I'm not overly surprised.
So so at my age, my Achilles tendons were like stair rods for 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't do it again, but not for any reason, because it's just an age thing.
Yeah, I mean, my issues like being in a wheelchair most of the time now.
Yeah.
Indoor festivals like Radar and Outbreak are a lot better for me with that. Plus, they're only in Manchester, so it's if it all goes completely to beat, then it's a taxi home if I need to, and it's not like going to absolutely break the bank for me kind of thing.
Yeah. So, well, like I said, I got to talk to Jace next week about some of the European festivals that he's going to. And I'll do the Steelhouse feature, and we should have covered most of the big festivals then between the three of us.
I mean, I usually just hand over audio for my interviews, so we could always maybe just do it that way. If I pass the audio across, and then you could maybe play it.
But, well, thank you for your time.
All good.
It's been
Yeah,
great having a chat to you.